Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Route 281 podcast, where I sit down with Melissa Blocher, who is on the board of directors for the Somerset County Maple Festival in Myersdale, Pennsylvania. We are thankful for her time as we discuss all things maple. Enjoy the episode. Okay, here we go. Let's try this again.
Sounds good.
Melissa Blocher, thanks again for coming.
Yes, thanks for having me.
I appreciate you doing this because this is kind of your busy time of the year, right?
Yes, definitely. We are both getting ready for the festival, which is in 2 weeks, and then also what we just are finishing up at the actual maple season and boiling.
Right, yeah. I have some friends right along 281 here that have a couple of sugar farms.
Yeah.
And so I always, I'll pick their brain a little bit about what's going on and when are they pulling taps and, if it's been a good season. And they do a pretty good job of explaining. And we've done the Maple Tour, which I think's been good.
Yeah, the tasting tour, I think it's been 7 years now that we've been doing it, and it's growing every year, so it's really a cool opportunity for people to actually see the camps.
Yeah.
Definitely. And we all do the same thing. We all talk to each other and be like, oh, are you done yet? Are you still boiling a a bit?
And you had to go to 2 weekends.
Yeah, for the tasting tour. Yeah, definitely.
So first we'll do just a quick introduction. Melissa Blocher, you married into Milroy Farms, is that right?
Correct, yes. My husband is Jason. He's actually the reigning Maple King right now.
So. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
The king, right.
Yeah, married to the king.
Yeah, cool. Does that make you the queen?
No, we have a Maple Queen. I like to say I'm the Empress.
Yeah, there you go. You're really the queen. They get a title for a year, right?
Yeah.
You have the permanent title.
Well, yeah. Well, no, actually it changes. So actually the Friday before the festival starts, there'll be another competition and then they'll name a new king. So the king is a culmination of all of the scores for syrup, candy, spread. There are 10 categories.
That's awesome.
Like a special use. I can't even tell you what they all are. Yeah. The 4 different grades of syrup. So
okay, yeah, I have. We'll get into all that. Just a little bit about you. You own a restaurant in Myersdale, and were you born and raised in Myersdale?
Yes, I was born and raised in Myersdale, and the diner is Dunkus's Drive-In, and I'm the 3rd generation. So my grandparents built it.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah. So, and what's kind of funny is my husband. He is the 3rd generation on Milroy Farms. Oh. His grandparents bought it.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
because
cool.
I think if you look at family-run businesses and statistics, it's like the 3rd generation. Have you kind of seen that where 3rd generation maybe starts to go, but you guys have every intention of keeping everything going? I hope so.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So
awesome.
Hopefully there's another generation that wants to take it over, but it does kind of be that it is that 3rd generation that sometimes keeps them going and sometimes doesn't. So
operating a restaurant has to be challenging.
Yes, definitely.
Just tell the people about your restaurant. I mean, I've been there, and I can vouch and say it's delicious. It's right by the bike trail, which makes it a convenient stop if you're
on the Great Allegheny Passage. Yeah.
So
the diner it's a diner, and it's kind of breakfast and burgers are what we're kind of known for.
Yeah.
We do a really good burger, which your family loves burgers.
Yeah, with some specials in there, I remember seeing.
We do a daily special. My mom still makes homemade pies for us. So
it's just such a cool, quaint little place that screams hometown.
It is.
That's the vibe I get.
I want people to feel like they can walk in by themselves and someone will be friendly to them and talk to them. And
I'm pretty sure the last time I was there was a fella just sitting outside on a bench reading a newspaper, which screams iconic, like America in a small town. And it really is like that.
Yeah.
So check out that restaurant if you get into Myersdale.
While you're there for the festival.
Yeah, you won't be disappointed. So
thank you.
So talk a little bit about the family farm and, like you said, 3rd generation now.
Yeah.
Is it only maple? on that farm? Or?
So we have 15,000 taps of our own, plus we another neighbor taps another 2,000, so it's 17,000 taps. So it's about 3/4 time. We do make hay in the summer, and we board horses. So,
Okay.
But we don't have like cash crop other than the hay,
Right.
like a corn or anything like that.
Livestock or anything?
Correct.
Well,
yeah.
you have horses.
The horses,
there.
yeah, but not beef cattle
Right.
or
So you're
dairy.
boarding for just customers who need a place to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually how I met Jason.
Oh, okay.
I boarded my horse there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So the farm was bought in 42, and it was Mildred and Roy, Jason's grandparents, and they put their names together. So before it was like popular with all the movie stars,
Yeah.
Jason's grandparents were doing it.
Makes perfect sense. It kind of rolls right off the tongue. Good for them.
Yeah.
They're marketers on top of everything.
Yeah. So at the time it was a dairy, and like many farms, like it went from a dairy to beef, from beef to mostly the maple. And when it was a dairy, the maple was what they called the seed and fertilizer money. So it was something to do in the
Yes.
springtime that gave some income to buy the supplies you needed for your year
Right.
when it was a dairy. And then, of course, as the dairy kind of market fell out, they moved to beef, and more when Jason's parents took over, that's when it really became more maple focused, and they've really developed that into the business now, end of the farm.
17,000 taps. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And they're all put in by hand.
Yeah, you see every single tree once to drill it and once to take the spile out.
Yeah.
And then in between there, we of course run the aerial tubing, which is the most common now way to gather. In between there, we check all the lines. We run vacuum on our lines. You can't suck sap out of a tree, but you can create artificial atmosphere to make the tree think it's more springtime than it is. So you lower the air pressure at the tap hole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. See, I was thinking that was just to draw the water.
No. So it creates this space where more of the sap runs to that spot because there's less pressure there. So the barometric pressure, air pressure, is around you all the time,
Right.
and it's around every organism, including the tree. So when the tree feels the pressure on and off, that's in the springtime, the freeze and thaw, all of those things contribute to the running of the sap.
Okay. So that water, explain to me, you're not robbing the entire tree of that water, right? You're only getting it from that spot.
Right. So we liken it to donating blood. You can give a little bit of blood and it's perfectly fine. It doesn't hurt you and it helps someone else.
Yeah.
Similarly, when you tap the tree gives a little bit of sap. It doesn't give all of its sap, and it creates maple syrup to help other people. But most of the sap stays in the tree and helps to eventually create the leaves, the buds, and then the leaves that then create photosynthesis, and that keeps the tree alive.
That's a perfect analogy.
It's a pretty good one, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'd never really thought of that, but yeah, that's a very good analogy. So just for the record, you're here on behalf of, yourself, and you're on the board of directors at the Maple Fest in Myersdale,
so
PA.
I kind of have a weird position because I have volunteered for the festival for years, and I didn't even know who Jason was. And then I married into a maple family, so I'm kind of a weird spot where I both do festival, and which is kind of like its own entity, and I'm also a maple producer via my husband. Yeah,
Awesome.
Actually, I'm the person who boils. So.
Oh. Now, do you guys have a furnace that you boil with? You have to be pretty efficient with that many taps, I would imagine.
Yeah. So we use fuel oil, but many camps still use wood. Basically, we try to be as efficient as we can and work with less and less labor because it's harder and harder to get labor.
Yeah. You probably know that from running the restaurant.
Yeah, I'm super lucky. I have a great staff, but
That's
at the same time, farm work is even harder.
Yeah.
Diner work is hard, but farm work in its own way is you have to have a special kind of person that wants to do that kind of work.
Yeah. Well, it's very rewarding to do that kind of work, for one. And you get to work in one of the most amazing places, which is in the hills here in Somerset County.
Yeah.
You're out in the woods, and
I always get to say, like, I am lucky to get to live here.
Until it's that day where you're tapping and the snow is several feet deep, and which always impresses me because, I mean, you obviously can't get a vehicle or a buggy to every tap or every tree.
Oh, no. Yeah,
you're doing some huffing.
Yeah. We had, 1 year, we had snow, and it was up to my hips. And so, like, you literally would swim, and I'd take a step, and then I'd fall in, and then I'd swim and take a step and fall in. Those days are long days, but of course they're rewarding. Like when you're tired, when you're tired at the end of the day, that's a good day.
That's the best sleep.
Yeah.
That's the best sleep when you're wore out because you've done something really hard that day.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Definitely.
Well, hey, before I go any further, this is for you. This is the Route 281 podcast hat that just the guests wear. So if you see someone come into your restaurant with that hat on, you know they were a guest on the show.
Nice.
You're in good company. So
yeah, exactly. Very cool. Well, thank you.
And I'll have some stickers too. I can give you, put one on the counter there.
I definitely will.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So you have a store there on the farm, right?
We do. So we have a farm market. So right on right at our sugar camp, we have a store. We keep regular hours, like 9 to 5, 9 to 4. We don't work on Sundays. Now, if we're there, we live there. So if we're there, of course, but we go to church in the morning, and then sometimes we'll have an activity or something like that. But sometimes we're just around and cutting firewood or making hay or whatever task needs done that day.
Somebody just rolls in and they're from out of town and they want some syrup. You're happy to oblige.
Yeah. We don't not do business. Yeah, we just are closed that day, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody needs a rest day.
Yeah. And so, what kind of products do you have there in your store?
We have a little bit of everything. So, of course, we have all 4 grades of syrup. So, golden, amber, dark, and very dark. And then we do taffy. We make some of our specialty things we do candy, of course. We do spread. But then the specialty things are we do granola. We have a maple rub that we just developed a year ago. So, it's great for, like, smoking meats.
Yeah. Nice.
We're in partnership with Maple Valley Barbecue Company, and Brian is who developed the rub for us. So he does a pulled pork sandwich that's like, and he uses this. We do an original and a spicy, but the spicy isn't like over the top. It's well balanced, Okay. So he does a pulled pork sandwich with it, and he does a sloppy Joe with it. Do
you serve any of that at the diner?
I don't. I should.
Especially during Maple season.
Yeah, like probably for Maple Festival. I've just been working on our maple menu. We're going to do a maple Coke.
Ooh.
Yeah, a maple Coca-Cola.
My kids would be all over that.
Oh, yeah. It's sweet, but it's something a little different.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely try the rub, because that's like one of the easiest things for me to smoke is like a pork butt.
Yes.
It's so forgiving. You put it on for a long time, and there's other things that are harder, but and everybody likes it. So
yeah. We've tried it on everything. There was a wild game feed, and they put it on alligator, and it was good.
Nice.
Yeah, and we've done it on salmon, so that's kind of like that's special to us. The other things we do maple creams for the season. So we only it's a cream candy. It's kind of like a little fudge. And it's only Somerset County is the only place where they do this. So,
maple cream
candy. Yeah. So people make the maple spread, like the cream, the maple cream that's spread. Many people in different areas make that, Vermont and Wisconsin, but the cream candies are kind of specific to Somerset County.
Wonder why that is. Just
I don't know.
Other people will be doing it now, but
it's a little bit more labor intensive. Okay. We only do it during the season, so
and we're hard workers here, so that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Yeah, right. Okay.
And then we do peanut butter bonbon. And so Jason is the 3rd generation on the farm, but his grandmother was a Wagner from the Wagner Sugar Camp.
Okay.
And they had a recipe for a bonbon that's peanut butter and maple cream mixed together and then dipped in chocolate.
Oh yeah, don't show those to my wife. or maybe that would be a little. She's watching this, but I'll have to buy that for her for a gift. She'll love that. Yeah,
it's a special thing. You know what
nice,
I mean?
Nice. So you mentioned the different colors of syrup, and can you tell us why that is? Or how do we get the different grades or colors? And
so that
how does that come?
Yeah, that's entirely Mother Nature. So we have no control other than processing the sap as quickly as we can. We have no control over color or flavor. So whatever it gives us, we take. We can't go into the sugar camp and say we're going to make amber today or we're going to make golden today. It's whatever comes off when we're done boiling, like that's what it is.
It has nothing to do with how long you boil. Yeah, okay.
It's boiled exactly the same. It's all the same sugar content. It's just
the color.
It's just the way.
So taste is a little different.
Tastes are different. Generally speaking, the lighter the syrup, the more delicate the maple flavor. The darker the syrup, the more maple forward or stronger the maple flavor is.
Do you have a preference?
I do. My preference is dark. Yeah. So I like the darker syrup with the richer flavor, but that is completely a personal preference. Yeah. Ricky works for us. She likes the light syrup. My father-in-law, he only wanted medium syrup, and he would come for dinner and he'd say, "Melissa, I make thousands of gallons of syrup. Why do you have this dark syrup in the kitchen?" And I'm like, because it's my kitchen. Yeah. But he only wanted amber syrup. Like, that's the only kind of syrup he wanted. So.
Growing up, I was not a fan growing up. I'm kind of ashamed to say that. But, we grew up on, like, the syrup that you get that's, what is it, corn syrup, basically colored, right?
It's a maple flavoring or just a sugar.
No, we use nothing but. My wife uses it to cook and certain things. So we go through a lot. We'll buy 4 half gallons at a time so that we'd never run out.
Definitely. Yeah. We use it to cook all the time. Obviously, it's readily available to us. So we have tons of recipes, but we definitely do fried apples that way, and maple glazed carrots. That's usually how I convince everyone to eat carrots at my house.
We were at one of the tours, and they had a maple cake. And they said it was a sample size, but it was like,
the pound cake.
Yeah, and it was a whole piece, and it was so good. And they even served it with ice cream, which I didn't get, but it was delicious. So there's so many nice recipes out there.
Yeah, definitely. So that is Christine's pound cake, or I don't know. It's Seckler's pound cake. But even so, I'm friends with Denise at Yoder's Guest House across the street from the diner.
Okay.
And she serves it to her guests because it's like such a big hit that when Christine or when Seckler's make it, she goes and gets it and serves it to her guests because everyone loves it so much.
Yeah, it's kind of dangerously good.
Yeah.
But so what are the ideal weather conditions for making syrup? Like when are you thinking about tapping, and then what causes the best sugar runs?
Yeah, so if we knew when to start tapping, we wouldn't tap. We'd just tell other people when to tap.
Okay.
It's an educated guess. So we had sugar camps that started tapping actually in December or January this year. We didn't start until, I think we started February, I want to say the 10th, I think was our first day of tapping. It really varies. We watch 4 different weather reports and kind of do an educated guess from that. Yeah. We want freezing at night and warm warm during the day, or vice versa. We don't care. We just want a freeze thaw. Mm-hmm. Ideally, the freeze at night. And like 20s, we don't want it to be negative something because then it takes too long for the tree to warm up.
Okay.
So like in the 20s, 25, 27, 23, something like that. Mm-hmm. At night, and then in the daytime we want like 40s, overcast, when it's snowing and raining and everyone else thinks it's miserable. There are 150 families in Somerset County that are like, woohoo, this is really good for us.
Right.
So we kind of want that warm, just above freezing, overcast, rain, that's all kind of that spring weather is what's good for us. These last couple days that are 60 and 70 and everyone's loving them, they are not good for us. So
season's over at that point.
Season's coming to an end, yeah. So the sunshine, of course, encourages the trees to start budding, and we talk about buddy syrup or buddy sap. That's when it's finished. So the tree is using the sugar now. So we don't get any of the sugar.
And these are all like what kind of trees do you tap? And I know they're maple trees. And
so this is our sugar camp. That everyone, I always say, like, everyone does the same thing. Tap a tree, gather sap, boil sap, make syrup. But everyone does it differently. I couldn't go into somebody else's camp and run their camp. So when I talk about things, it's more of like what Milroy Farms does, not necessarily what everyone does.
Right.
So again, like, some people tapped December, January. We didn't tap till middle of February. Other people might not tap till end of February. Everyone's a little bit different. And I'm sorry, I lost the question.
Oh, so the type of tree, we know that they're maple trees.
Yeah.
And
so
can you tap all maple trees?
Sugar, you can tap any maple tree. Sugar maples are hard maples. Those are the ones that generally give the best, highest sugar content. So those are the ones we want.
Okay.
But we personally, if there's a silver or a red, which are considered soft maples, if there's one in our path, we're going to tap it. Other sugar camps, they are like, nope, it's not a hard maple. We don't want it. So it's just a variation of what everyone thinks is best. We don't go out of our way for one. We aren't going to extend a line for a soft maple, but we will, if it's in our path, we will tap it.
So would that be like a red maple, silver maple?
Okay. Yeah, there's Jason would know this better than me. I think there's 23 various species of maple trees.
Yeah, that's crazy. I should know more than I do because I had tree ID in college.
Oh, well, see.
we didn't, I think the time of year that I went to school, we didn't have leaves either to identify. But we had to identify trees. But a sugar maple has a rough bark, right?
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
The bark is silver is pretty smooth, and the red is pretty smooth, if I'm not mistaken. But
yeah, silver is definitely smooth. I think red is smoother. The sugar maples have like what you think of as a traditional bark on a tree. Yeah,
that's cool. So how far back, do you know much about the history of producing sugar? And I did a little research, and one of the things I found was one of the first uses for sugar water was for an eye wash.
Oh,
and
okay.
They used it. I don't know if because it was softer because it had the sugar content in it or something, or how they realized this, but because most of these homes in the early settling days all had wood burning fireplaces in their homes, their smoke would get in their eyes, and they used the sap to wash their eyes, like an eye wash.
I have never heard that.
And then a drink. They drank it just like an energy drink almost.
Yeah, that's still a thing now, is drinking the sap, but or mixing a little syrup in other drinks. There is an Civil War era, 1860 something cookbook that has a maple beer recipe in it. So yeah, it was certainly used for drinks and things like that. Now the sap itself is unstable, similar to milk. So it has naturally occurring bacteria in it, just like every organism does. Yeah. So it's unstable and it will deteriorate. But once you boil it, then you can keep it forever. So so using the sap I had not heard that.
As an eye wash. Yeah, that might be kind of dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Well, they didn't know back then, really.
Yeah.
But
that's interesting.
If you let the sap go, it will almost turn into vinegar, right? Or like a vinegary smell or substance, or.
Yeah, it ferments.
Okay.
It gets slimy. The bacteria eats on the sugar. Yeah. So
how do you get all the water out of the lines? Or does the tree just quit and you pull the tap, gravity takes it out, or?
We shoot grade, so we know our lines are gravity flowing down. But also because of the vacuum, while it can't suck it out of the tree, it can suck it out of the line. So the vacuum will pull it down to one of the tanks.
Okay. I can't imagine how happy people were when they started running lines versus carrying buckets.
We have one bucket on our entire farm, and everyone's like, whose turn is it to go get the bucket?
Yeah, because for the tasting tour, probably that's a neat thing for people to go up and see. And
exactly.
Look in the bucket. And where I grew up, our neighbors boiled, and they would tap some of the trees in our yard, and it was all buckets.
Yeah.
And so, I think maybe they tapped like 15 trees in our yard.
So that's kind of the difference. There are still lots of people who use buckets.
Yeah.
And there's also a bag now that you can use, like a plastic bag that you can hang onto the tree as well. So people still use the buckets. The larger you become, the less. So, for example,
17,000 buckets.
Right. We would never be able to do that.
Right.
We maybe 5 or 6 if you had a good team with you to help empty those buckets. You could get to 5,000 or 6,000, and you better have a pretty good team at that rate, whereas the difference now is we don't need as much labor, so we can have fewer guys, and we still need labor. We still need somebody to go tap every single tree. We still need to check the vacuum, but every time it runs, if it runs overnight, we don't need to send guys out at midnight to go gather sap. You know what I mean? Or
you don't want that to overflow and spill.
Yeah. That might have been the hardest sap to gather that year.
Right. Yeah. So was it a good season this year?
Yeah, it was. I'm going to say about average, maybe a little bit more than average. Again, this is us personally. I have not heard anyone else say that they've had such a sweet year. We had 2% sugar. I've been the boiler for 7 years. I've never seen 2% sugar until this year. And I checked it, and then I was like, no, that's not right. And then I checked it again, and then I checked it a third time, and I was like, this is 2% sugar. That's very sweet. So that's 43 gallons of sap to 1 gallon of syrup.
Oh, yeah.
So that's excellent.
The dentists are happy.
So that we didn't get as much sap this year, but because of the sugar content, we actually got as much syrup.
Okay.
So we have the same amount of syrup on less sap this year.
That's amazing.
And again, that varies drastically in the county, on ridges, on if you're on this side of the ridge or that side of the ridge. It really varies.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the reverse osmosis process, which is kind of interesting.
It's just magic.
Yeah, really. And it's pretty much revolutionized your industry.
Yeah, definitely. So reverse osmosis removes the water from the sap. And so we keep the concentrated sugars, and then the water is actually so pure, it's negatively ionized, so it looks to gather things to it. So we save the water and use it to clean, because it will actually pull the scale or pull the mineral off of a pan.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of neat. It's a giant, and different industries use it for different things. Dasani water is reverse osmosis water. So if you've drank a bottle of Dasani, they actually put stuff back in it to give it flavor, to give it taste. So it's a giant membrane, and we force the water through this very dense membrane, and the only thing that can pass through it is the H2O molecule, water. Actually, chlorine can also pass through it, but we don't have to worry about that because it doesn't naturally occur in sap, right? Okay. So it forces the water through, and then we keep that concentrated sugar, so 2% out of the tree. Some people we personally take our concentrated sap to 14 to 16%. Some of the camps will take it up to 23 or 24%. It eliminates about 80% of the water before you ever start boiling. For us personally, we use fuel oil and not wood.
Right.
And so we're burning 25 gallons of fuel oil an hour.
Yeah.
So your house burns that in a day.
One of the camps told me that, and I was like, I was amazed at how much fuel it took to get for 1 gallon, or for an hour.
For an hour.
An hour.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So yeah, efficiency is key.
Yes, exactly.
So basically, you can take however much water remove the water just to boil more concentrated
sugar water.
Yeah, which makes the boil time less, thus decreasing your fuel consumption or firewood consumption, which is labor intensive also.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, the guys who fire with wood, they have they have one man or two sometimes that literally their entire job is just to keep feeding the fire.
Yeah.
You know.
That would be my job. I don't know how to do much else, but I just like burning wood. Period, so I think it smells good.
It does, yeah. It does, and it gives the syrup like a little bit of a smokiness to it that you don't get with the fuel oil. Right? Yeah.
Cool. So, tell me how you got involved with the Maple Fest and kind of what's your role now, and maybe the history of it a little bit in the town of Myersdale. What's significant there?
Yeah. I started volunteering when I was a child because, you know, my family is a business family in town, and my mother was definitely like, you give back to your community. So like I've always had that like instilled in me, and so that's what I did. When I moved away, went to college, worked a real job. That was terrible. In New Jersey, and then moved home and bought my family's diner. And I wanted to, you know, the community pays my bills. So I wanted to give back to the community. And Madeline Edwards, who the Edwards family has sat on the festival board for a very long time, she encouraged me to join. And Bonnie Foxwell, who's her daughter is one of the Maple Queens, and she sat on the festival board. She encouraged me to join, and so they had an opening on the board, and I said, okay, sure. Yeah. So that's how I kind of got to the board. Is prior to that, I was just volunteering my time, and they needed more people on their board. So,
where in New Jersey were you working?
I worked and lived in Madison, New Jersey. It's like central Jersey.
Yeah, I went to Rutgers.
Oh, okay. So, well, I worked for Drew University, which is in Madison.
Were you a teacher there, or?
No, I did residence life and their international program. So I did. I'm a weirdo, so I did like international.
We're all a little weird. That's okay.
I took care of the graduate and theological housing. So I had 5 apartment buildings and I didn't personally do the maintenance. I scheduled all the maintenance and check-ins and check-outs. And then we did social events like concerts and picnics. And I did all like kind of the not school part of living on campus.
Life. Yeah. Cool.
A student life part.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the school had a heavy international population, so I wound up doing like some of the student visa work and that kind of thing.
So was it city life there? Or?
Suburban life. We were about 25 miles outside of Manhattan, so.
Okay. But not small town Somerset County.
It wasn't small town.
So you were Drew back to this.
To me, like, I love walking down the street and saying hi to people. It's so weird to me to walk down the street and not say hello.
Not know anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's what you described about serving your community or giving back to your community is, I think it's commonplace for a small town like Myersdale, Rockwood, Somerset County, like all the towns across Somerset County.
Yeah, definitely. So many towns have a little festival or some sort of celebration in the year, and it requires the entire town to put it together. Yeah. That's the thing about it is it's not one person ever. You know, it's 500 people coming together to make something happen.
Right. And that's what's so cool about Somerset County, because there's always something, whether it's spring, summer, fall, winter, there's something going on, which Maple Fest is that
The spring.
premier springtime thing in
Yeah.
Somerset County. So
It's
yeah.
like the wake up, I think. You know,
Yeah.
like you've got fire and ice, and then like, and that's kind of cold, you know?
Yes.
And then it's like, okay, the next kind of big thing is festival, you know,
Yeah.
or Maple Festival. For us, we call it's just festival.
Yeah,
But
fire and ice
Maple
is way
Festival.
more ice than fire, I think, because it's usually in January.
Yeah.
You know, you got that little, but they do have some fires along the street there.
Yeah,
which
they
you can
do.
warm
They
up.
do.
So I
It's
get
fun.
the name, but it is awfully cold.
Yeah.
But that-
Usually a snowstorm happens. You
It comes
know?
with the territory here, so
Yeah.
you got to embrace it. You know,
Yes.
We had a National Guard member on recently, and he said their motto was "Embrace the suck." So I'm like, every time I'm at work now, I kind of think of that. You know, oh, just embrace the suck. Or you know, if it's cold out and I go back to the barn to feed the animals, you know, I remember that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
So this is the 78th year for the festival.
wow,
So that's kind of cool. I think it is, other than the Somerset County Fair, I think it is the oldest festival in the county,
okay,
which is kind of neat.
yeah,
The Maple Queen is one of the biggest purses in the state. So between all of the prize money, she's somewhere around $8,000 or $9,000 when it's all kind of added up.
oh nice. Good for
Yeah,
them.
so-
are there responsibilities that come along with the Maple Queen?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, so it's not all for nothing. Right? They got to put some work in.
Yeah, I mean, she becomes the Maple ambassador basically. So she's
Okay.
talking about, she goes to parades, she goes to elementary schools and talks to students. She goes to Mountain Craft Days. She goes to Springs Folk Festival.
This is
like,
typically a high school aged
senior.
Senior, okay.
Yeah, so senior girls are who are eligible
Okay.
for it.
Cool.
So it's kind of neat, and the contest just was. So we
Yeah.
have a new queen, and
Okay, shout out to the new Maple Queen.
yeah, Kira.
Okay, yeah.
Kieran, sorry,
Good
Kieran.
luck with all your endeavors that you're going to be doing for the next year. So.
Yeah, so, and it's, again, it's county-wide, so she's from Somerset, so
Oh, cool.
It's not just Myersdale, it's
Right.
a kind of a county-wide thing.
So, what can people find at the Maple Festival?
Oh, okay. So of course, it's Maple,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a replica sugar shack there, but there is so much more.
Yeah.
So my favorite thing is the manor. It's one of the oldest. I think it's one of the 3 oldest homesteads in Somerset County. It's been added onto twice, so it's Victorian in stature, but inside, in the kitchen and the keeping room, in the kitchen and the keeping room, they've taken off all of the horsehair lath and the plaster, and it's back down to the log and chinking.
Oh, wow.
Open hearth, fireplace. It's beautiful. Upstairs, there's a museum. It has a dress that was worn to one of the inaugural balls for one of the presidents. It has Rough Rider pins. We have full uniforms from Revolutionary, Civil War, and maybe World War I or World War II. I'm not sure which one. Up in the museum area, there is the first crown, the first Maple Queen's crown.
Wow.
There is a sugar cake from 18 something.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. So it's
Nobody's eating it.
no. I mean, it should technically still be okay,
Right.
but no,
Yeah.
no one's eating it.
Nobody snuck in there and ate the cake.
So it's probably my favorite, but again, I'm super nerdy, so I love the history stuff.
Yeah.
We also have Dr. Glass gave us his entire medical supplies when he retired. So we have a doctor's office that's a replica. We have the most complete set of a cobbler shop east of the Mississippi. East of the Mississippi. So it's kind of neat and different.
Yeah.
Those things are all inside the park. And of course, Lions Club does the pancake house. On the second Saturday is a both a horse pull, a 5K run, and our feature parade. Usually the parade has about 50 entries to it. It takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours, so it's a nice big parade.
Yeah. Wow.
If you like parades.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's live entertainment every day on the stage. And then the first weekend they do a sit and sip, with all the local, like Tall Pines Distillery, Bird Dog Winery. I think there's 4 or 5 like brewery, winery, distillery type places the first weekend.
Cool. Yeah.
So it's a wide variety.
Yeah, you have to have that history available, because otherwise you lose.
Yeah.
The things that bring everybody together.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
So, I mean, the industry is always innovating and doing things, but just, you have to remember where you came from.
Yeah. Francie would always say, like, she would say that our stuff holds age-old traditions with new technology.
Yeah.
So it's a mix of the two.
Well, it's a rewarding process, but there's a lot of moving parts to making it.
Yeah, definitely.
There was a true crime episode, and I watched this documentary, but it was about like the largest maple syrup heist in history. Have you seen that? And I can't remember what the show is actually called, but this happened in Canada.
I don't know what the show is called. The Canadian Federation.
Yeah, the barrels they put
water in them.
And yeah, it's very interesting.
So Canada controls the maple market. Quebec makes the most maple syrup in the world, but unlike the United States, where we can choose how much we make or what we make, there they are restricted. So the government tells you how many taps you're allowed to tap.
Like a quota system. Okay.
It's like a quota system. And then you turn all of your syrup into the Federation, and then they release it. If it's a good year, they hold some, which maintains the price.
Okay.
And if it's a bad year, they release a little bit more, which also maintains that price. But you don't get paid for your syrup until they sell your syrup.
Oh,
so then there's all this
syrup at that point, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're a little guy, and you need that money to like buy new supplies or that sort of thing, and your syrup doesn't get sold for 3 years, you're just kind of out. So
and here it's completely free in the United States. You can make as much as you want.
Here you
on
can.
Your property. And
Yes, yeah. So it's an interesting
Let's
system.
Go Canada.
It's an interesting system. Yeah. It's not, there's good and bad to it. If you're a little guy and you haven't been paid for 3 years, that's terrible. Mm-hmm. At the same time, if it's a bumper crop year and everybody sells their syrup for super cheap, then, the entire market crashes. So there's good and bad to everything.
Yeah, I think the dairy industry is kind of like that now, where you have don't quote me on that, but allegedly. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I am unfamiliar.
Well, I should know, but obviously the milk price is set, and it is very complicated. And I've asked even dairy farmers, and I'm not sure how it goes, but they're probably not getting what they deserve anyway. Yeah,
that is an industry. If you've got generational families that can't make it, that's rough.
Yeah. Our family just sold our farm.
Yeah.
It's just kind of sad to see it go, but hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes,
Yeah, but, definitely.
For sure. So how is the price set here for maple syrup? Because it seems like everybody is very close in price per half gallon or gallon or whatever. So
that is an individual choice. So there is bulk pricing, where if we sell an entire drum up to Vermont to a packer or up to New Hampshire to a packer, they will sell. We have to, they will say this is what our price is. But here, each individual farm kind of sets their own price. Right. And some people want it higher and some people want it lower. And, it's whatever the tolerance is.
Kind of a risk reward thing, I guess.
Supply and demand. Yeah. And here, everyone has their camp that they go to, or this is the person who makes the best syrup. Or
Yeah,
this is
somebody in your church is making syrup, so you go over there, or
exactly,
a friend or something. So.
Yeah, so we are saturated with syrup. When you move out of like Somerset County and you kind of get to some of the more urban areas, Pittsburgh, DC, Baltimore, then you'll see the syrup prices go much, much higher, because you can't go to your neighbor and get it. Yeah. You have to buy it at the store. Right. Yeah.
So as far as Somerset County, what are we producing as a county, and how, in correlation to, say, an area like Vermont or some of these other states that produce a lot of syrup? Are we one of the highest in the state, or what makes Somerset County special in that regard?
Sure. So Pennsylvania is, I believe, number 5 right now in the states as far as production. And we jump between 4 and 6, but I think right now we're 5. And then Somerset County is actually the largest producer in the state. So there are 5 associations in the state, and we make the most syrup out of those 5 associations.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think most of them are on the northern tier,
Yeah.
But because of our elevation, the maple trees do well here in a cold, damp environment that,
right. Maple trees do great. I'm not so good, though. No, that's good. Yeah, probably because we're higher, like you said, higher in elevation, and the freezing and thawing, and
we get
when
that.
we get towards spring. So, does the groundhog have any say in how good the syrup year is going to be?
No, it does not. My father-in-law was always like, I don't understand why all these people go to watch the groundhog, and we have the tree tapping ceremony, which is really interesting, and sap comes out of the tree, right. And it's much more accurate if it's going.
But Phil gets all the recognition, huh?
That's it.
We're coming for you, Phil. So I've seen him. Not in Punxsutawney. We were at a ski trip in Holiday Valley, New York, and there was a parade there, and they brought, because I don't think it's very far away.
Oh, okay.
But he made an appearance.
There you go.
The guy with the top hat holding the groundhog, but huge gloves on. So, just tell folks how do they get to the Maple Festival, and when it is, and website, social media, all that stuff?
Yes. So we definitely, it moves based on Easter. So this year, the festival is the first 2 weekends in April. Mm-hmm. And it's actually the first weekend, and then it starts back up Wednesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the second weekend. And it's obviously in Myersdale.
Yeah.
Then there's a few community groups that will park cars. So most of it's street parking, but you can find some spots to park. Mm-hmm. But be prepared to walk a couple blocks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, that's okay. And the quilt show is at the fire department. So the quilt show is upstairs at the fire department. The pancakes are right across the street, and then everything else is on Myers Avenue at the park, at the festival grounds.
Right in the center of town there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right, kind of where the monument is. It's just 3 houses up on the right-hand side from the monument. Okay. The Doughboy.
So do most of these local camps bring stuff to sell? Do they set up little...
So some people will set up on the street. The festival itself purchases from different producers. So, for example, we send candy. Emmerich's camp sends syrup. Hilligus camp sends syrup. I think Black Bear sends something.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the county, different producers all send a little bit, and then the festival sells it.
Is there a Somerset County Maple Producers
Association?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do what do they do, basically?
So the festival is sort of promotion. So they do the festival. They sell, maple. They promote maple. The association is actually, and the two work closely together. The association is who puts on the tasting tour and the tree tapping.
Okay.
So again, like the tree tapping is technically the Maple Producer Associations, but the Maple Princesses come and they all are introduced there, and so it's a joint effort. The Producing Association, though, also does, like if you're a member, you get the Maple News, which is an industry newspaper, as part of your membership. We do a container order. So we order the jugs that your maple syrup comes in. Mm-hmm. We order them bulk, and we get a better price for them. And then instead of paying premium prices for your containers, everyone works together and makes it a less expensive. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
So it's sort of those sort of things that the association does, more in the production line of things. And then the festival is more promotion and saying, hey, this is an important industry in Somerset County, in Pennsylvania, that sort of thing.
Okay. You mentioned sending a barrel to Vermont. Does that happen often? Because I would imagine that Vermont could hold their own, because when you think of maple syrup, sometimes you think of Vermont. But, I mean, I guess maybe you think of that's one thing that the state is known for.
That Vermont is known for?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Vermont has the market on it. They have a lobbying group within the state that if McDonald's has a maple shake, mm-hmm. if it says the word maple, it must be pure maple in it in Vermont.
Yes.
So of course they have the market on that. There are some large packers that when you go to a Whole Foods or a chain grocery store, mm-hmm. you can buy pure maple syrup there. It's probably one of these 2 or 3 large packers.
Okay.
So they will buy bulk syrup. They'll buy if we have. Everybody's different, so we retail almost everything we mm-hmm. produce. But another camp might have a lot of excess left over, and then they can sell that throughout the year, or at a certain time they'll set a maple price mm-hmm. based on Canada's. And you can sell a drum to, or a container. You can actually, they have big shipping containers, but, there are some big guys up in Vermont that have 80 or 100,000 taps. They make what we make in a day, or what we make in a year, they make in a day. Wow. It's crazy, but they're kind of neat to see.
Yeah. Big syrup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else that you would like the listening audience to know about the festival? Anything that I missed? I mean,
no, we definitely have a website. It's pamaplefestival.com.
Okay. I'll put it in the show notes too.
Okay, yeah, and then our Facebook page is PA Maple Festival as well. And both of those have lots of information about the car shows. There's so many things. There's a truck show on the first weekend, the car show on the second weekend. You can do signups for those. The parade, if you want to put a float in, there's stuff on our website to do all of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's...
Is there still time for folks to sign up and do that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we actually we have Sign Up Genius to sign up if you want to be a volunteer. So you can help kids tap trees. You can help we do a little country store. So you can help in the country store. If you want to learn about making sugar, you can help Chuck in the sugar shack. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we always need volunteers for things.
And the Gap bike trail runs right through Myersdale.
Yeah, and they are supposed to open the tunnel, I think, on the 24th. So it'll be open for festival. So people can actually bicycle and come to the festival.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Thank you
You're very
so
good.
much.
Thank you so much, Melissa.
Yes. Great meeting you.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Oh, and tell everybody the name of the restaurant again.
Oh, My diner?
Yeah.
Dunkus Drive-In.
Yeah, so check out Dunkus Drive-In.
Donges. Yeah.
So it's right there in Myersdale. You can check her out there. Good food. So
Thanks.
okay, thank you.